Hey students and families, in order to get the most out of these videos, you want to have a few things ready first. Absolutely, you have to make sure that you have permission from your parents and family to practice your Taekwondo somewhere safe, in your house or outside. If you're going outside to practice, make sure the weather will also permit you to practice, and make sure your parents are watching you. If you want to improve, you have to have an extra set of eyes on you. It helps too to have someone record your practice, so if you have any questions, you can take a 10 to 30-second segment of video, upload it to our Facebook group for training families, and we will make sure that we give corrections, that we give encouragement, and we help direct you towards success. Other things to have on hand nearby include water. I know we're not so kind about having water on the mat in class, but you're at home and that's one of the benefits. So make sure you have that water nearby. And if you do, use it when you need it and push yourself even harder because you have it. It might be useful to have a towel to pat dry your face. And another really useful tool to have is a soft mat, like a yoga mat, or if you have some of your own Taekwondo mats to put down at home. That's going to help protect your body. If you don't have that, you can still train. I used to train on hard concrete, on rocks, and on dirt all the time, so it can be done. Make sure though, no matter where you train and what you're doing, that you absolutely always are being safe. And my last note, try your hardest. You cannot give up. When the workouts get rough, when you start to sweat, that's not a sign to stop. That's a sign to keep going so that you can reach that next level.
Okay, so the first warm-up exercise we're doing today is sit-ups. You're going to sit down on the ground, plant your feet on the ground in front of you, take your hands and put them on your shoulders, give yourself a hug. You're going to lay down and you're going to sit straight up, keeping the back as straight as you can. What we don't want to do when we're doing our sit-ups is we don't want to curl and sit up that way because we're going to end up hurting our back and hurting our neck and not making our core as strong as we need to. So if you are a tiger, you're going to do 5 sit-ups. If you're a Karate for Kid, you're doing 10. And if you're a black belt or an advanced student or an adult, you're going to do 15. So you lay down, sit up, 1, and down, up, and I'm making sure that every time I sit up, my elbows go past my knees. That way I'm getting the full range of motion with the exercise.
Very good. All right, so when you're doing the lunges, don't slam your knee on the ground. If you can put down a yoga mat, something like that at home, it's going to protect you a little bit. But you can do this with control, especially since you're training to become a black belt. Go ahead, put your hands up over your head, step backwards, and set the knee on the ground. Come up slow, squeeze the muscles in your legs and your glutes. You do that again, step back. You want to go for 5 if you're a tiger, 10 if you're in Karate for Kids, or 15 if you're an adult or you're in our black belt program. On the other side, it looks exactly the same. When you're ready to go for that one, you move this foot back. Set down that knee with control. Squeeze the muscles on the way up. Come back to a neutral stance. And if you need a bonus on this warm-up and you're not really getting what you want out of it, you can add more repetitions or you can go slower.
Side leg pulses. So you've already seen them front ways. We're going to do the same exact exercise sideways now, using either a side kick or a round kick, something of that nature. So first things first, we always put our hands up. We make sure our foot is pivoted. We're going to pick our leg up off the ground and execute a kick. And then we're going to pick it up and put it down. Over and over and over. And if you're having trouble keeping your balance, remember our tricks for that. Bend this knee that's on the ground. Keep your hands up and focus your eyes on a target to help you keep your legs under you. You can also hold on to something. If you have a lot of trouble with your balance, hold on to a wall, a chair, something steady that's going to hold you up while you're doing your exercise. If you're a tiger, you're going to be doing that 5 times. If you're a Karate for Kid, you're doing it 10. If you're an adult, a black belt, you want extra practice, you're doing it 15 times on both legs. So what that pulse looks like is you have your hands up, you have your pivot, you pick your kick up, down, up, down, up, down. From this way, hands, pivot, up, down, really strengthening those hip flexors. And if you want another way to work out with that, instead of extending the kick all the way, chamber a kick. I'm chambering my round kick here. Pick the chamber up, down, up, down, up, down. So now we're going to work on our push-ups. The positioning for this is toes on the ground, hands on the ground. All right, you go down. We really concentrate on keeping our belt up and in, away from the ground, without sticking our butt up in the air. We have to have a nice, tight, and flat position here. When you touch the ground, you only want to do so with your chest. Put your heart on the ground. You go down, and you go up. And pay attention to the positioning on that. When I go down, my legs, my stomach, my belt touches the ground, but not the legs or stomach, just the heart. Go down, and up from the front, and it looks like this. Hands, toes, look straight ahead, make sure you're very strong. You go down, and you come up. And you can mix this up by moving your hands to different positions. You can have your hands out wide in front of you. You can have them tucked right underneath you. You can also try doing push-ups with diamonds like this, down and up for a really hard challenge if you want it. If you're a tiger, you're doing that 5 times. If you're Karate for Kid, you're doing 10. If you're a black belt or an adult student, you're doing it 15 times.
We're going to start off today by stretching out our hips, and we're going to do everyone's favorite stretch, the Spider-Man stretch. I'm going to use this opportunity while I have you sitting at home watching this to really focus on some of the finer points of your Spider-Man stretch, and then I want to see you challenge yourself. We're going to show you the static stretch version, and as a bonus, I'm going to put in a dynamic version where you get to move side to side and stretch out in a more ballistic style, similar to how we kick. So let's dig into it. When we do the first Spider-Man stretch, you step off to one side. Keep this knee directly over this foot. And if it's more comfortable for you, feel free to pivot that outward a little bit. What I want to focus on is what we do with this foot. As you sink your hips closer to the ground, keep your back straight, chin up, chest out, and point this toe to the sky. We can sit nice and deep in here, opening your hips wide. We can hold now for 30 seconds. Or, like I said, we can try the ballistic style where we shift right into the other side. When you're really, really strong in your legs, do this with no hands. Right now I've got my hands on here showing you how you might support yourself. They're right above the knee, not directly on the kneecap. That's dangerous. So right above the knee helps me push up and over to the other side. Keeping that toe pointed to the sky, this knee right over your foot, and then with no hands, back and forward, just like that. If you want a different stretch, set that foot down on the ground. That's a little bit more advanced to get that foot on the ground. I'd love to see you able to do that, but right now let's work on getting our kicks high and fast. The next stretch that I'm going to show you is a cross arm stretch. This is going to stretch out your triceps muscle on the back of your arm, as well as your rear and mid delt in your shoulder. These are muscles absolutely critical for blocking with strength and for striking with speed. To do this, we swing the arm across and we hook it with the other arm. I recommend hooking on the back side of the elbow. Pull up my sleeve so you can see. Here's my elbow. This side's not going to do too much for you. You want a straight arm and hook on the back end of your elbow. It's natural to get like a turtle in their shell here. My shoulder is up right under my chin. I want you to relax that shoulder and pull it tight across so you can feel that stretch through the muscle fibers in here. It's important to give your body love when we stretch like this. If you want your body to take care of you and you need to defend it, you got to show it some love and respect right now. You can hold this for 30 seconds. You can pulse that hold by squeezing, and then you switch to the other side. Come over here, get that turtle out of his shell, pulse, squeeze, or go for full stretch. I can feel it. This is a good stretch. You're going to get a lot out of this, especially if you're like me and you like to hit with your hands a lot. All right, Let's move on from there. Next stretch I'm going to show you is another really fun stretch to do. It's really useful. It's the side split. If you can do splits, you can kick really high. And a lot of people naturally struggle with opening their hips up into center stretch. That's why we added the frog stretch this week and next week. If you haven't seen it yet, try the frog stretch. Make sure you're doing frog stretch almost every day. It's a wonderful stretch. But this is side split. It's a little bit easier, and you're going to see immediate improvement in your front kick range of motion. You'll kick higher, you'll be able to lock it out longer. I'll show you from the side, and then from dead on, looking at you. So from the side, you extend one foot in front of you, the other foot behind you. Your hips, use your belt as a guide, are going to point the direction you want to lead. You sink down by moving those feet apart. The toe can go to the sky, or you can keep your foot flat for an advanced stretch. Reach your hands down to get a bonus stretch in the hamstring here, moving the chest towards your knee and foot. And over time, you'll open it more and more and more until you're almost all the way down. I'm not quite there yet, but I won't give up. You can hold it in various positions. If you're advanced, you might pulse in that position too. It's key, though, that you don't force any kind of split stretch or any stretch, really. You force the stretch, and that leads to injury. You get injured, you can't train. And if you want to be a black belt, you've got to train almost every day. We're going to help you. I'm going to show you what this looks like from the front now. I'll use the other leg just to switch it up. We'll put your foot in front, line up your hips to that direction. This one is going to stretch in the back, and you're going to stretch the back leg in the front. Opposites, right? Yin and yang. So we'll go down into it, one hand on each side, leading your chest to your knee or towards your foot. An advanced stretch will put your foot on the ground. You go as far as you comfortably can. Try to keep it lined up as straight as possible. If you're advanced, you might pulse. If you're close, just hold it. Take your time with any of these stretches. The splits in particular, you cannot rush. If you cheat through it, you bend your knees, you force yourself to go farther than you're ready to, or you pulse when you're not already at an advanced level of flexibility, you're going to see injuries develop. Those injuries will stop you from achieving your goals. Don't fall into that trap. Be patient. Take your time. Think about a gardener who has to wait for his plants to grow. He doesn't have to sit around and meditate all day about flowers. No. All he has to do is take care of that flower. He has to water it, give it sunshine, give it fertilizer. You're going to do that to your body too. You're going to take good care of it. Don't hurt yourself and progress slowly towards your goal. You'll get there.
The last stretch we're going to do is bridge. There's two ways to get into this stretch.
Cut. You're on.
All right, so the first way you get into bridge is you sit down. Lay down, back against the ground, and put your arms back over your shoulders so your palms are flat on the ground. Make sure your feet are steady on the ground and push yourself up. And you want to push your core as far away from the ground as you can to be in this position here. Right?
Yep.
The next way you can do this is you can start by standing. Stand, have your feet shoulder width apart, reach up and back, and catch yourself before you hit the ground. And hold bridge in this position. When we're doing this bridge stretch, we should be able to feel it in our back, in our core, and in the fronts of our legs, and maybe even if your shoulders, if those need some more stretching. All right, so the first drill we're going to work on today has to do with controlling our hand techniques. Now the way we're going to do this one is you're going to pick a hand technique from your level. If you're a white belt, you could do punch, you could do knife hand strike. Orange and yellow belts, you can do knife hand strike, you can do spear hand, you can practice your punches. Our intermediate belts, camo green and purple, you can work on your ridge hand strikes and, goodness gracious, your punches could do as well. You could work on any of those lower techniques as well as your ridge hand strikes. And my advanced students, I want you to get really creative. You have a lot of techniques to choose from. Work on your upset strikes, work on your basics, your punches, your spear hands, any hand technique you can think of. So what you're going to do with this is you're going to get something that you are not going to hit, but it wouldn't matter if you did. When I practice this at home, I like to use a wall or a chair, something that would hurt if I hit it, to have a little extra incentive to not hit my target. For right now, I'm just going to use one of our targets here. And what I'm going to do with this, I'm going to practice my punch. I'm going to get into a strong stance in front of it. I'm going to put down my reaction arm so that I can aim. And I'm going to execute a very fast punch that I'm going to freeze before it hits my target. Going to go from here, and I'm going to punch. Now, what you want to do with this is you want to get as close to your target as you can without hitting it. If you're new to this sort of thing, start from a ways away, okay? Really practice your control before you go all those hitting things, all right? The more advanced you are, I want you to see how close you can get without hitting it. Make sure that we're asking permission before we do this exercise, getting good, safe ideas of what we cannot hit so that we don't hurt ourselves or our belongings when we're practicing. The next thing we're going to practice is our follow-through. So with that last exercise, remember, if you're a tiger, you're not hitting it 5 times. If you're a karate for kid, 10 times. If you're advanced, a black belt, and adult student, you're doing 15. All right, with this next one, we're practicing follow-through. When we practice our follow-through, we want to not only hit our target, but we want to go through our target. All right, so you could practice this with a pillow, a couch cushion. You could practice it with something that folds and bends like a piece of paper. But what we really want to make sure we're doing is that we're not just hitting our target, we're going through our target. I like to use pillows and things that bend because that way you can see it compress when you hit it to know you're going all the way through it. All right, if you're practicing something like a knife hand strike or a back fist that swings out, you could get next to a couch cushion on your sofa. Bend your knees into a strong middle stance so you're right lined up and try to hit as strong as you can into the cushion. All right, you can also practice this with a pillow propped up against the wall. You could have a loved one hold a target for you and see if you can punch or strike all the way through it. Make sure that you have permission to use these props that sort of way so that you don't break or hurt anything. And if you're very, very strong, I wouldn't suggest putting a pillow against the wall. You might go all the way through it and through the wall, and then what are we gonna do? All right, so practice your strikes. All right, any of those hand techniques I listed earlier, go all the way through your target, see how much power and follow through you can come up with. The next exercise we're doing is our knuckle push-ups, and we're concentrating on 2 important things here. We're concentrating on which knuckles we push into the ground, and we're concentrating on how the wrist is to make sure that it's very strong and it does not bend. When we do our punches and we hit targets, we need to make sure that wrist stays absolutely straight and strong. If it bends one way or the other or sideways, that's how we end up injured. So this is a good way to practice that wrist strength without hitting things. So what you're going to do is you can do this on the ground if your knuckles are very strong. If you need something like a yoga mat or a pillow, put that down ahead of time and put your knuckles on that. So you're going to go down into your push-up position. Put your knuckles on the ground and make sure that you're leading with those 2 big ones right there. If we put only the little knuckles on the ground, we're going to end up bending our wrist and hurting our hand. Lead with your 2 big knuckles. Put your hands on the ground and get into a proper push-up position. You're going to keep those knuckles down on the ground. You're going to keep your wrist straight, and you're going to push down and up. Really keeping your brain right there in that section of the hand to make sure that all of this moves the way it's supposed to. From the side that looks like this, you go here, you put your hands down, adjust so your knuckles are correct on the ground, strengthen your wrists, push down and up. And if this is a real struggle for you right now, you can place your knees on the ground to help as well. Push-up position would look like this. Knees down, feet pointed, knuckles strong on the ground and wrists straight, push down and come back up. If you're a tiger, you're going to try to do 5 of those. Karate for kid, you're going to try for 10. Advanced students, black belts, and adults, you're doing 15.